Open. Yeah. We're live. Okay. Hi, everybody. We're live. I never know where to look. Good morning, good very early morning, as in Stacy's case, and good afternoon if you're in Europe, and good whatever, wherever in the world you are. Welcome to Live Real Talk with Nina. Super excited today to host Stacy. Stacey and I have actually, have a little bit of a history in the meantime. She's an amazing visual communicator, and we'll talk about what that actually means and maybe even looks like in the course of this conversation. So, welcome, Stacey. Um,
Thank you.
Thank you for getting up super freaking early. She's Pacific time, so it's still dark out. And why don't you just introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about your background and what you do?
Sure. And thank you for having me. This is just such a joy having a chance to chat together. So I'm Stacy Louise Christopher. I am a visual communication and marketing strategist and expert. I help leaders really around the globe become unforgettable and understand how to use hand-drawn graphics and visual communication in their brands. So that's my jam, that's my joy, and help people make a lot of money doing it. So
Mhm. So, what's your what? How did you? I mean, I wanted to actually just show. Do you have one actually handy? I should have asked you this before the we started going live. So, visual communication, can be something like this. This is
mhm.
not Stacy's. This is one that I created. So, just rather than having a typed up or graphically designed content, you can create content by hand yourself. And what tell us a little bit about why that has why that is so important.
Yeah, so I'm trying to, as we're talking, trying to see if I can find an example, but I'll find it later.
Yep.
Um, so, as we know, there's four different types of visual communication, right?
Mhm.
There's video, there's photographs, there's infographics, which is considered visual communication, and
Mhm.
then there's hand-drawn graphics.
Yep.
And so we kind of cover both ends of the spectrum. You're the video expert, I'm the hand-drawn graphic expert. And so um, what I knew from corporate, I used to be a vice president of marketing and sales for a global beauty company. Grew it 400% over 4 years, I think, or even more so, from a $1 million company to over $5 million company.
Wow.
And what we what I know from corporate environments, even going back as far as like the 70s, visual communication has been a practice that's been used in the infrastructure with team building, with inter office communication, and education. And when I left corporate and came to the online space of coaching and consulting and business to business support, I didn't see visual communication really being used, and I saw
Mhm.
this hole, right? And and I know how effective it is. I know all the science, all the great brain statistics about why it works, right?
Mhm.
Um, 65% of us are considered visual learners. That in and of itself
Yeah.
is an eye opener, right? So we're always talking about how to speak the language of our ideal clients. And if we're not speaking visually, we're not really speaking their language, and we need to be, right? So that's what you and I share a passion for.
Yep.
Visual graphics, the brain processes about 96 times faster than it does like written or text based
Yep.
information. So, just those two things alone, right? I knew that if we could take this same practice and move it into the marketing space and also into content when we're teaching our clients the things and hoping to provide the transformations that they would like when they sign up with us,
Yeah.
um, we can use that provide those transformations, get that learning faster, get it quicker, get it on a more visceral level with both our marketing and our content,
Hmm.
then why not, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everybody's talking about video and how important video is. And yet, when I saw the first of your graphics, I was excited beyond over the moon because I've just started taking art classes again, and I've always loved doodling. I've always used doodles, and literally just doodles, to explain little concepts in my work. And seeing your work, just I felt like I was given permission
Mm,
to go crazy.
hmm.
Crazy within, yeah, go
Well,
crazy. Yeah,
it can feel like that. And I have
yeah,
clients all the time that that permission thing is huge. So
yeah,
sometimes the first thing we have to do is work through the right to call ourselves creative or to do something that we see as creative. And, I tell this story. The difference between visual communication and art is kind of big, and people don't really understand that. So we evolved as early humans going into a cave with a piece of charcoal and drawing our stories on the side of cave walls in simple stick figures, lines, shapes. We weren't drawing like Michelangelo murals to tell
hmm,
our story. um, Art is amazing and powerful, and does a lot of things for us in other areas. But in terms of telling our story in the most efficient, quick way where it's remembered and registers in the brain, that happens with the most simple of lines, right?
yeah,
And so our brains, with our early human evolution, the
hmm,
reticular activating system, grew with us as we were communicating in this way.
yeah,
And the brain still remembers that. And so when we see things that are hand drawn, we have that reaction that you have. Like we light up with excitement and
right.
permission, like reconnecting to that cellular memory. And the brain wakes up with visual communication and it gets busy. It says, I need to pay attention to this because there's this very old association, sort of the primal nature of what it is that we're looking at.
It's interesting because I feel like, because we process an image so much faster, I think it also remains more memorable.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's just a stupid example of a digital versus an analog clock face.
Yes.
That they say that people who have the analog clock can tell time like infinitely more fast than people who actually have to process the numbers they're seeing on a digital display.
Isn't
Um,
that fascinating? Yeah.
it is fascinating, actually, and I find it to be. I mean, and maybe this holds true for our generation, and not so much, generation of the 20 year olds, which is as we're running out of alphabet. I think it's Generation Z, right? So I just find it. For instance, I have been using this here on LinkedIn,
Yes.
and this came out of a class I took with you and
Yep.
Shannon. And I just love it because people see the coffee cup; they don't even have to read the rest, and it's like, oh, let's
Can
have.
I tell you something about
Yeah.
that strategy?
Yes, please
Um,
go ahead.
so you brought up Shannon. Shannon was one of my clients. Uh, Beginning of this quarter, just from visual communication and the strategy that we developed for her, she added 90,000 to her her overall revenue,
Yeah,
just from one quarter and just from visual communication. That's not everything else. So I shared
yeah.
this strategy with her too. The post it. Let's just draw a
Mhm.
hand drawn note on a post it.
Yeah,
Let's invite somebody to a conversation or some kind of engagement. She just sold a $30,000 program using that strategy.
yeah.
So while it may look simplistic or cute or a lot of things, I'm always here to say, and it works. It
Exactly.
works.
It works. So case in point, 2 weeks ago, I posted my first invitation, which was a hand drawn graphic again, which I did through for working with you and Shannon on. So Shannon and Stacy and another woman, Amy, have this new what is content creation
Yeah.
club, right? Which is a
Yeah, it's a
monthly.
membership.
It's a
Hmm.
membership where you learn how, or not learn, but it's more like as inspiration, support, strategizing, learning new techniques, and not just limited to hand drawn, right? It's just about
Right.
any kind of
It's a
communication, but hand
it's
drawn
a
heavy.
monthly.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah. It's a monthly membership for online online marketers.
yeah,
So if you're a coach or consultant or an entrepreneur, and you need a place to land to create content, this is what our membership there is all about. So we do
yeah.
talk about a theme every month, and then we talk about different ways you can employ that theme into your content. So
Yeah.
with everything from a long form story post to a hand drawn graphic, um, and everything in between. So
Yeah.
we are coming up with very creative, cutting edge ways that kind of disrupt the market and get people noticed.
Which is beyond super important. And so that brings me to sort of the well, first of all, let me finish one thought first, because typical Nina, I'm jumping around like crazy. So the hand drawn invitation that I posted a couple of weeks, no, not even 2 weeks ago,
Yes, yes.
and within, we posted it at 10, and by 11 I had 5 people signed up to what I had invited them into. And I
Hmm.
was just like, I was on a call with you guys while it was happening, right? I'm like, oh my God, more, 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 more.
Like another one, another one.
Another one. Yeah. And it was just so fascinating. And what I love, what I love about video, obviously, is how you can create that connection, how people can get to know you before they get to know you. So when they do get on a Zoom
Hmm.
with you, or God forbid, meet you in person again, they have a sense of who you are. They have a sense
Yes.
of whether they're going to like you or not, right? So I think it
Hmm.
also saves a lot of headache, in terms of not connecting with people that in the end go like, don't really like her, don't like her vibe. I mean, it happens even to me. um so video has a lot of great advantages, and is one of the reasons why, deservedly so, it performs so well. However, with video, there has to be that invitation for people to click on it and to sit through it, right? It is a as digital and whatever it is an analog, um, or a linear, I should say, not analog. It's a linear consumption mechanism, right?
Hmm.
So for those of us who are really super fast learners or really fast intakers of information, there is no opportunity to cross read or whatever, which is one of the things that I don't like about video. And I sometimes prefer text because I'm a really good cross reader, like, skimming, just skimming and getting the. And then with a hand drawn graphic, what I absolutely adore about it is it's all there, for the
Hmm.
intake
Yeah.
instantaneously. So for somebody who's a real quick learner or a real quick visual reader, um, you can just go like, boom, I get it, right? And I
Yeah.
love that. And I love the whimsy of it. Like, I had so much fun. Oh, here it is. I've been looking for it.
I
Um,
love your style, Nina.
oh, thank you.
You're
So, yeah, so this is the
natural.
invitation that I created.
Hmm.
It's my first one, but I mean, and I have to admit, it took me a little bit. But I also think, as with everything, as with video, it's all a
Sure.
matter of practice, right? But
Hmm.
it came up with the little iPhone on the stand.
Yep.
Then the little person here, and then we have the. Oopsie, I'm on the other side. We have the little arrows, and then I came up with a little pencil that is drawing, and it was just so much fun to create this. And next time I'm just going to white out the October 6th, and I'm going to put in the new date. There you go.
Right. Yeah. And we talk about that, right? Like how you can repurpose and reuse, so you're not starting from scratch every time.
Yeah,
And
and I
there's this.
actually did. I photographed it as I created it,
Yes.
so I now have a fill in the blank
Yep.
um, template that I can print out at any time. And then there's always Photoshop or Canva or whatever, where you can,
Right. You can do an
throw a white
integration.
box over it and start anew. Yeah.
And and this is the thing, there's there's an art to it, even
Mhm.
though it's very simple and we focus on the simplicity. Excuse me. And I work with my clients in a lot of ways on how to match that simplicity with sophistication in their brand. So there's all
Yeah.
different types of styles and ways that we can do that. So
Yeah.
it doesn't always have to be um, one particular thing, one particular look. But there is this, I take my background. I have a degree in design originally,
Hmm.
and then I have a degree in communication and journalism. And then my experience working as a vice president in marketing and sales, I kind of combine all of those things to create a science and a formula about how the eye sees the page, how we can get the most impact from that, how we
Hmm.
can make it engaging but not too busy.
Hmm.
Um, so you can get the results where all of a sudden you publish something that you've just drawn and you're getting people signing up right away.
Yeah.
Um, there, so I guess the simplicity can be deceiving in certain ways,
Yeah.
but it's also the beauty of this work.
Yes, and I think you're bringing up a really important question, and I know that came up in the challenge that you guys did when you started the content creation club. That there were people who were concerned. They had, high end brand or catering
Mm-hmm,
to a high end audience, how
mm-hmm,
a hand drawn graphic would jive with that. To
right.
me, that was never a concern, because to me, this is not low end. This is just, I think there's a difference between sloppy and
Mm-hmm.
scratchy and God knows what, and being
Well, it's
approachable and for real, right? I think
This
that is a
this is
distinction.
exactly, you hit the
Yeah.
nail on the head.
Yeah.
It's about being human,
Yeah.
right? And there's two things about hand-drawn graphics that attract the brain, right?
Hmm.
Really talking on a visceral level attracts the brain. And that is the simplicity,
Hmm.
and it is slight human imperfection. So it's not like holy imperfection where we're scratching out the whole thing. But it's the human imperfection that catches the eye. So
Hmm.
people ask me, can I create this on the iPad with Procreate? And I say yes, but we have a tendency to keep correcting when it's so easy, right? And
Yeah.
so I say let it be very close to how it originally comes out. Like don't overcorrect it. But that said, we can still be simple and match a sophistication of a global brand. I've done that a lot with different clients,
Yeah.
and still be human,
Hmm.
right? Because that's what people crave. People are so fatigued with information and with forms,
Hmm.
um, and even polished graphics. People associate a hand drawn thing with now a more premium brand, oddly enough, because they instantly understand that this took time for somebody to actually draw out. So it feels special
Yeah.
in the sea of just that in and of itself is a disruptor.
Yeah.
Um, in the sea of everything else that we normally have. You bring up a great thing though. You can use a visual, hand-drawn graphic to introduce people to a live stream that you're going to be having. You can use it as an invitation. You
Yeah.
can send that out in email. You can send that out in Messenger. You can post that on social media. And then that can lead into your video interview or video content like we're doing now, right? That's a beautiful way to combine the two. But another really powerful way to integrate the two is that we know when we see people drawing on camera, so there's a presence that's focused on what's being drawn, people are absolutely captivated.
Yeah.
So the whole video presentation doesn't need to be drawing or showing the presence of somebody drawing. But even if a little portion of your video content includes that, or includes moving post-its around on a page, or moving drawings or figures in and out of a page, even that will captivate people.
Yeah.
So there's ways that we can integrate it into video that I find so exciting because it really is combining the best of both worlds.
That's very true. And I think really it is showing somebody drawing by hand live and not one of those whiteboard animations. Because
Yeah.
again, the animations, I mean, first of all, I find those softwares, if they're not professional, they all have serious limitations. And it's again, it's about the human touch, and I totally agree. Not that I've seen it done much than watching videos that you've created to show us how incredibly simple it can be. I mean that, and that's, by the way, just total detour. The way you've been teaching, I've taken a couple of courses with you now, and it's like, oh, I wouldn't know how to do this, oh, I wouldn't know how to do that, and I'm taking art classes again. I'm getting pretty good with using my left hand again with a pen in it. And you were just like, we're drawing a U-shaped thing, we're putting a line here, we're putting a line there, and a line here, and I'm like, oh my god, we've got a face with
All of a
neck
sudden,
and
yeah.
shoulders, and I'm like, holy crap, this is so easy.
I love that. That's my favorite thing, is to
Mhm.
see people light up when they realize they've just created something.
It,
And my
yeah.
method is all based on breaking things down into simple lines and shapes. Actually, in my intro course, when I teach that, we actually draw shapes and then we
Hmm.
turn those shapes into things. And this starts getting the brain to think visually,
Yeah.
right? So when we learn visual language is a language. I teach hands how to draw visual vocabulary.
Yeah.
And it's similar to when we're learning like another language. When I'm learning French, I'm thinking and I'm translating in my head, okay, yes, we, right?
Hmm.
But there becomes a point where we become comfortable enough where I nod my head and I just say we,
Yeah. And
right?
you're not translating anymore. Yeah.
And not translating. And so
Yeah.
it's so exciting for me to see this process happen with my clients,
Yeah.
where they start with these simple shapes and then all of a sudden they're seeing shapes and everything around them.
Hmm.
They're
Hmm.
translating those shapes, they're pulling them out from the things that they're looking at. And then it's so much easier for their hand to speak in shapes, you know?
Yeah. Very
Yeah.
true. And I mean, I certainly had that experience. And also then to sort of, slide your foot out on the thin ice and realize the ice is actually all not that thin and it's pretty
Yeah.
sturdy and you can go out. And that's when I created in my invitation, like the little, the phone, where is it here? My little phone thing. I'm like,
Yes.
yeah, that actually looks like I recognize what this is. And I
Uh-huh.
was so excited for myself. Or I would
In
have
my
never
next,
thought that I could create a banner like this. And
I
I just
know, but
followed
look at
your
you.
instructions. I'm like, curve, curve, straight line, line. I'm like, oh my God. Even what was that advertising? Even caveman can do this.
Yeah.
The old Geico. Yeah.
I know I need to
Yeah.
have that as my my head.
And
And
talking
I
about
was
what
so
we talked
excited.
about earlier, this is like a template, right? So I created
Uh-huh.
this template. I didn't fill it in with the text, so if I want to change it down the road, I still have the template. I don't have to start, drawing from scratch again. It was the three
Yes.
things that are not on my resume, which, by the way, has been a wonderful post as well. And this is what I love about what you do, because it's not just the visual aspect of it. It's also you're forced, and in video it's similar, you're forced to think to the essence of what you want to say. So
Yes.
you don't want a 20-minute long video, you don't want a 5-minute long video, you actually probably don't even want a 2-minute long video. So if you have a 60-second or 90-second long video, you really have to think about what you're going to say.
Yes.
But if you have a hand-drawn graphic, you have to be even more concise than that, and really and I love the rigor of having to focus on the essence of what you want to say. I think that's a
And you know, we
great way to
talked
do it.
too about like visual vocabulary. Like for instance, I'll teach
Yes.
visual vocabulary that clients can use in a variety of their layouts, right?
Hmm.
Um, this is just a sample of a
I love
visual
this. Yeah.
story. That's another technique.
You use the
And
heart quite a bit, right?
I do, yeah. I talked
Um,
about that recently.
right.
I there was a point. So here's the thing: visual vocabulary is metaphorical, and each
Mhm.
of us it's sort of gestalt, right? We're going to translate symbols differently. What a heart
Mhm.
means to me may be something slightly different for you. And
Yeah.
it's important that we connect with what the metaphor is for ourselves, and that inevitably communicates to whoever we're publishing our visual communication to.
Hmm.
And I noticed that I just put hearts in everything. And there was a period of time where I felt like I'm going to be accused of being like a young teenage girl where I'm putting hearts all over.
Yeah.
And like I was judging myself. And then I just thought, F it, that's who I am.
Yeah.
I'm a child of the 60s. I believe in love. It's my guiding principle in life. That metaphorically is what a heart represents to me. We can't have enough love in the world and in our lives. And so if I'm going to just heart everything on Facebook instead of a like, and if I'm going to put it in all of my things, so be it. That's who I
Yeah.
am.
And that's what attracts people into your orbit, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And I
I
think that's
think,
the same thing with and again, I feel very much the same with video where um I always tell my clients, if you want to create consistent content,
mm-hmm.
which I'm supposed to call it fun and easy content, but in the end, we want the fun and easy content to be consistent. Um, and this is Shannon speed, like at the back of my head. Um, then you have to be yourself. You cannot
Yeah.
keep up being something you're not when you're putting out content consistently, because otherwise it's going to become a drag. You're going to disappoint people, be it off the bat or down the road, because you're going to be somebody you're not, and sooner or later when they start working with you, they're going to be working with you and not with something that you put on that you constant.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I
Exactly.
also
Yeah.
say it's just the energy, and yeah, just the plain energy you have to put into being somebody you're not. um, Most of us small business owners, solopreneurs, in my case, I work with lower six figure business owners. They don't have a huge team, so they can't afford to have a Fortune 500 made up
Mm-hmm.
brand. That they are the brand.
Right. And I think good marketing, um, and this is tough for somebody to accept in the beginning, I think, but you and I know it well, that good marketing really is going to repel the people that aren't right for you.
Yeah. And that's, I
And
always say that it attracts your ideal clients, and sort of does a
mhm,
self weeding out process, right?
yeah, and
Yeah.
we want it to do that weeding out process
Hmm.
because we're not for everybody,
Yeah.
right? And the less
Shocking, I
time
know.
we spend with the people that are not right for us, the more time we are spending for the people who do need what we do.
Yeah. Yeah. And appreciate what we do. And that makes it for a wonderful work experience, right? For everybody involved.
Yes.
So what are where would you send people who are, wow, this is really super interesting. I want to check this out for myself. Where would you put people? Other resources either on your website or other people on YouTube, etc. Where would you send them?
Yeah. So I encourage people to go to my website, which
Hmm.
is stacychristopher.com. It's STACY. And scroll to the bottom and sign up for my email list because my list gets my resources first, gets notified of my free workshops first. So that's
Hmm.
a great place to stay connected. I have a free workshop coming up on the 19th. Of we were talking about this. What's my title? It's I Can Icons, easy hand drawn icons that convert. So we're going to really be narrowing in on using those symbols and icons that attract people deeply, that establish that visceral connection and make them want to reach out to you.
Yeah.
So we're going to be diving into some visual vocabulary there. And then on my Facebook page, I have a lot of free content. So you can find me on Facebook at Stacy Louise Christopher, and connect with me there.
And then, so your workshop is what I'm putting this into chat because we don't have, oopsie, I already did it like 3 times. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
What date is it again?
it's Tuesday, October is that 19th, I believe, and it's at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 Eastern. I'm just making sure that I've got the date right. Yep.
Hmm.
Tuesday, October 19th.
Link to sign
And
up.
if you register and can't make the time, you will get the replay. We always like to say that the real magic happens live, but the replays are really great, and actually kind of relaxing. They give you just an opportunity to hang out, draw, and learn. So there's a lot of neuro benefits that are going on in different
Oh,
ways.
I always love your classes because yeah, you get to do um you get to doodle. I mean, what's better than doodling, and doing it for your business during business hours? And it's
Yeah.
also, it's something that I'll take with me in the evening, after dinner. I'll take it with me, and I'll even if I'm watching TV or whatever. It's something that you can kind of play with and make it better, or perfect it, and then again, and this is a lesson to be learned. At some point you have to let go, and it's like, okay, I've now drawn this
Yeah.
15 times. This 15, number 15 is going to be the it drawing, or
Hmm.
you have to let go of perfect.
Yes. I
Yeah.
mean, and that is, we are so burned out with that, yet we're programmed,
Yeah.
right? To keep trying to attain that. And I always tell my clients, step before you're ready. Take a step before you're ready. That's where the beauty is. That's where the
Mhm.
exciting stuff is. That's how you're going to be a disruptor. It's just so important to let go of perfection and take action.
Yeah.
I always say manifesting likes to find us taking bold, courageous action. And visual communication is definitely both video and hand drawn graphics are that bold, courageous action that people stop and take note of, and
Mhm.
quickly position yourself as a leader and a trendsetter.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be complicated, right? It can, as I said,
Right.
there's the posted version. I actually just pulled this one out, which I loved also that we did together.
Oh,
uh,
yes, I love that one. And some of
yeah.
your worksheets, Nina, too. I just love your worksheets.
Oh, the worksheets I use with my clients internally. Yeah.
Hmm.
They've been great because it just sort of breaks up everything. The funny thing is, I had two worksheets and I was kind of embarrassed to use them. And then when I saw your work and I saw the work you'd done with Shannon, I'm like, oh my God, I can now go crazy. Again,
Permission. Yes.
permission, what we talked about at the head of
Here's
the conversation, right? Yeah, yeah.
and here's the
And
thing. Like, I work with CEOs or coaches of, 6 and 7 figure companies who don't, have the problem of not retaining their clients, not re-enrolling clients, and clients signing up but not doing the work, and
mm,
frustrated. Like, I've got
yeah,
all this content, they've signed up and they're not doing the work. And I know if they don't do the work, they're not going to get the results. And if they don't get the results, it's not going to feed my marketing ecosystem,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
And I say, okay, well, let's look at your material. And inevitably I see this bank of PowerPoints or this bank of videos.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dear, you are fatiguing your clientele. You brought up something about millennials earlier,
Mm,
and you know, millennials are accused often in Gen Z and so forth of having short attention spans. And, as a mom of a 23-year-old who's fabulous, I see into this generation in a whole different way than I think a lot of the accusations are made. And there's a, excuse my French, but there's a no bullshit aspect of that culture,
yeah.
and really like attracted to visuals and visual communication because of the noise that exists in online space and in social media, and everybody is information fatigued, form fatigued, right? And so when I help my clients convert some of this PowerPoint, mass of PowerPoints or videos, and just even take a portion of that and turn their methodology into a visual worksheet, they're thrilled. All of a sudden, people are engaging with their content. People are getting the transformation that they wanted to when they signed up for that program. I mean,
Mhm.
I can't extol the virtues of that enough,
Yeah.
right? That's one
You
of
know,
my favorite
and I
things.
think it's a good point you're making. I'm just putting my course online,
Hmm.
and I have a long list of worksheets that are right now. I had them originally done with a graphic designer, and they look very pretty. They're
Hmm.
visual and they're laid out. But I want to convert them all into hand drawn graphics sooner or
Yeah.
later, because it just, again, as you said, the transformation. It also, again, I think there's, it sort of like it brings it all together in the package, because again, if I'm hand drawing something, I cannot overload it with text. So I have to really think about, what do I want to communicate? Which
Hmm.
part of the communication is visual and which part is actual
Hmm.
words, right? Because as we've seen with the examples, with there's a mix of both. And then if you teach overteach, people will not. It'll be all this useful information that they'll be completely overwhelmed by. But if
Hmm.
you have a clear visual style and a clear choice of words, then you're teaching the essence, and the essence will stick and will give that transformation that you're looking for.
Yes, exactly. In journalism, we call this not burying your lead. So
Yeah.
we learn to put the most important, in newspaper journalism, anyways, we put the
Mhm.
most important information right up top. And we have to
Yeah.
know what that important information is. And oftentimes, beginner journalists will bury that information at the end.
Yeah.
And so, same with visual communication and with video, we have to ascertain like what is the most important gems out of this whole thing, and I need to raise up and put a spotlight on.
Very important, and ever so important with video, where you have a whooping 3 seconds to
Hmm.
engage people
Right.
to continue watching. So I think with visual communication, and again, this is what excites me so much about visual communication over video, is that you do have a chance to take everything in with one look. You can always continue looking and see more layers, but it's
Hmm.
all there for you to read as you can read best, right?
Yeah, and we are hardwired
Mm.
to read that way.
Yeah.
And that's that part I'm talking about of the
Mhm.
RAS section of the brain. We are hardwired to look at a whole field of information and not linearly read from left to right and
Yeah.
then consume the content that way,
Yeah.
but to look at the whole field and instantly absorb it, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, and hand drawn does that, and there is no need to click on it. There's no additional action needed to consume the content. Be it that
Right.
you have to hit play, and I mean, a lot of videos are autoplay, but then you still have to click on the audio, which is why closed captioning is so important, etc. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is really awesome. I've been so looking forward to talking to you, and I am very excited about converting my content into more and more hand drawn content, and just yeah, just using these post-its, which I'm using in emails. I'm using it on LinkedIn in DMs,
Mhm.
and
We can now call it, because of M. Shannon Hernandez, we can now call it the 30K post-it strategy.
the 30K post-it strategy. There you go. Well, I'm looking forward to that 30K for sure. But it's also just I love the whimsy and the fun of it.
Mhm.
Money aside, I mean, which of course is why we do what we do, but the whimsy of it and the fun element of it is what lights me up and excites me. So
Yeah.
yeah.
In marketing, in advertising, a long time ago, I learned there's a formula for commercials.
Hmm.
And if your commercial involves a child, involves an animal,
Hmm.
involves some humor,
Hmm.
and involves your product as the hero,
Yeah.
that's the magic formula. It's what we see in
Hmm.
the Super Bowl ads all the time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that never leaves my mind with visual communication.
Hmm.
Um, I look at that and I say, is there a childlike whimsy here? Is
Hmm.
there something that's slightly humorous?
Yeah.
I will, when we're talking about those icons that convert, you bet I'm going to put animal in, strategically, and then position what I'm doing as the hero.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful
Yeah.
beautiful format.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I totally agree. And I think our lives are that serious, especially these days, enough. So let's add some humor. Let's add some
Yeah,
levity.
let's have some
Um,
levity.
and
Cheers to
and just
that.
yeah, cheers to that. Tell me about it with our early morning coffee cups. Well, you never know who spiked what, but not that early. Let's put it that way.
I'm not going to tell you what's in this drawer, right?
Stacy, thank you so much. Is there anything that I did not ask you that you're burning to talk about?
Gosh, I think we covered it. I'm super excited about this new free workshop. So I do a
Hmm.
monthly free workshop so people can have that opportunity to see what it is to work with me,
Yeah.
understand the work more, get a little courage, build some sea legs in terms of visual communication. So this next one's going to be great when we're looking at those convertible icons and showing people just how easy they are to draw.
Yep.
So yeah, that's kind of my next exciting thing. I've got some masterminds coming up and
Mhm.
a bunch of things in the pipeline for Q3.
Awesome. Yes, which
Yeah,
let's start it. So
and thank
Q4,
you.
Q4, not
I
three,
mean
four.
Q4. Yes,
I just
still
realized.
half Q3, Q4. But thank you, Nina, too, because I just adore you. I love your work. You're so talented with it, even with the disclaimers of you not thinking like that your work is you know good or worthy somehow. When we first started talking, and I was like, oh, holy crap, this woman's got more talent that she even realizes. So I'm really excited to see how
Thank
you
you.
grow with this.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm certainly having fun with it. So, and I think
Yeah,
that more than anything shows probably. Yeah.
love it.
Stacey, thank you, thank you. We will put the link, the direct link to the free masterclass on October 19th into the chat once we have it, which should be later today. And in the meantime, please check out stacychristopher.com, Stacey's website. It is in the chat as well, or in the comments. And thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in 2 weeks again. Yay! Bye. All right, I have to actually hit on the end broadcast